Hello all, and welcome to the, let's call it the season finale of Candy Jack's Toy Box. So what are we looking at today? A few years ago, when I started this series, one of the first episodes, I talked about a Freddy Krueger model kit produced by a company called Screamin. It's a company from, I'm going to say like maybe mid-80s to early 90s, I forget exactly how long they were in operation, but I think it was kind of a smaller business, what you call like a garage kit company. So because of this, a lot of the kits that they produced are a little bit more on the harder to find side. They're pretty rare, and they're usually expensive when you do find them. Like even on eBay, you know, this stuff is pretty easy to find on eBay, but when it's not easy to find on eBay, that's a rare item. Among these, Freddy is the easier one to find, I think, but I recently acquired the Leatherface kit. Leatherface can be pretty hard to find. He's almost never on eBay. Usually when he does pop up, he's either in very bad condition or extremely expensive. I've seen them up into like $500 before. That's complete in the box, everything. But I'm always out for a bargain. So I recently found one that was missing the box and the instructions. All that was gone. It was pre-built and painted, and the paint job was just terrible. And the big money saver, he's missing the chainsaw. Leatherface without the chainsaw, kind of a big deal. Why would you even want? He would just be standing there with his arms up for no reason. But I said to myself, I'm never going to get one of these for a decent price. The only one on eBay that does have the chainsaw right now, it's complete in the box, $800. I think that's because it's signed by Gunnar Henson, that adds, but honestly, even without that signature, these things are so expensive. So I found a few more on eBay that were in crappy condition, also missing the chainsaw. One's even missing his arm, but they're still over $100. I'm like, I'm not gonna spend $100 and have to like figure out what to do with the missing parts, you know. But finally I found one, only 70 bucks with shipping. That ain't bad. Missing the chainsaw, of course, got a crappy paint job, but it's like, I'm gonna restore this bad boy. I'm gonna make him look good. For 70 bucks, I'm never gonna be able to beat that. I'm never gonna do better. As far as I'm aware, this is the first Leatherface figure ever produced. I looked at the back of the kit. It's dated 1989. I think it was produced 89, but I think it might have come out in 1990. I'm not sure because originally the chainsaw had customizable pieces that you know, if you chose to use them, you can make it look like the chainsaw from Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. And if you've seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about, that awesome chrome chainsaw. I don't have the piece, I don't have even the basic pieces for the chainsaw, so I had to just figure out, real simple, how can I create a custom chainsaw? So basically, I'm just going to get to the point now. This video is going to be documenting my process, completely restoring this figure from crap to pristine. If I may toot my own horn a little bit. I think it looks pretty good by the end. I mean, you know, yeah, I will toot my own horn. Doot doot. So this is the Leatherface model kit that I got, produced by Screamin. Show you this. You might not be able to see that. You can kind of see it. So this, just if you're going to get a Screamin model kit, make sure this is a good indicator on if it's a bootleg or not. You don't want the you don't want to get one that doesn't have the logo anywhere. So try and figure out where the logo is supposed to be. If it's not on there, then it's probably a bootleg. They're selling bootleg versions of these things for around 20 bucks, which is really cheap for one of these models, which is another indicator that it's a bootleg. If it seems the price is too good to be true, it's probably because it is too good to be true. It's fake. Normally, this kit goes for a lot of money on eBay. I think there's only one in complete condition on eBay as of recording this, and it's going for over $800. So that's a lot for a single collectible. I'm not really down to pay that much. This one with shipping was about a little over $70. You know, that's still kind of steep for me, but you know, this is a very rare item. Usually, even if it's in crap condition, it's over $100, so to find one under 100 that, you know, it's missing the chainsaw, but the body is complete. That seemed like a good opportunity for me because I really wanted one of these things, and now I finally have one. The only issues is that it is going to be a lot of work to restore it. One, the paint job, whoever did this, sorry if you're watching this, but this is god-awful. This is one of the worst paint jobs I've seen on a model kit. I don't know, maybe a little kid did it, I don't know. It's a possibility. You're just a very untalented adult. It's just very blotched on. You can see a lot of like the paint lines are very thick. So this is all going to have to be stripped off. I'm going to have to deal with all of that. And then because I guess it's probably old, this is another sign the paint job wasn't very good, but there's a lot of like thick caked on paint that's starting to crack now. Yeah, all of this, that has to come off. Normally if I'm redoing a model, I'll just paint over it, but this one is so like thick and globbed on, I'm gonna have to strip the whole thing. And you see that there's big seams where the parts go together. That I'm gonna have to fix that. I'm gonna have to get like some putty or something to put in there. If you look at the back, it just gets worse when you look at the back. He's also having a hard time, depending on what surface you put him on. Doesn't want to stand up. I had to put this little book under here earlier. There we go. So I'm going to see if I can reshape this a little bit. Sometimes with a vinyl kit you can heat it up with a heat gun or a blow dryer and reshape it. There's already plaster inside of this, so I might not be able to do that. We'll see what I can manage. But if you're not familiar with how this works, you put plaster in the bottom half of a vinyl kit to give it some weight, so it'll you know, stand up better usually, but it's not working in this case. It's because he's kind of leaning forward a little. So I'm gonna have to fix the paint job, fix the seams. I'm gonna try and, if I can't straighten the feet out, then I might maybe get a display base to attach them on. Something to help him stand better. This is all pretty standard stuff. I think I can make him look pretty good in terms of all that. The only thing I'm wrapping my head around at the moment is the chainsaw. So it comes with part of the handle there. That's still intact. So that's good at least. But the actual chainsaw itself, it's, you know, the body, the blade, that's all missing. It's all gone. So I'm looking at my options right now. I'm like, can I get one 3D printed? I don't know how to do that, so I'd have to get somebody else to do it for me. Maybe I can like sculpt one out of clay and then make a resin, like cast it out of resin. You know, that'd be a whole process, but maybe I can do that. I'm looking at the options right now. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be an exact replica of the original. Just, you know, he does look weird just with his arms in the air. I mean, it's Leatherface. He needs a chainsaw. Okay, so I just separated the upper and lower torso. The arm is also a separate piece, but I think I'm going to leave that on for now, unless I think it's actually important to take it off. But I wanted to try and get in here to see what the deal is with the plaster in here, but I'm not really sure how the last guy who had this managed. He didn't cut the top of the thing off. You know, like this is, you know, part of the vinyl. So I guess he poured the plaster in just through this little hole. I didn't figure most people would cut the circle out a little bit bigger, but that's interesting. So I'm probably going to cut this off right now and see. I mean, you hear that? There's just like loose plaster rattling in there, so I'm just going to see what I can do and then start cleaning off some of the excess crud. Using a heat gun, I was able to heat up the vinyl and got it soft enough that I could cut that little top off just with a little hobby knife right there. And now we can see the plaster in there. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and Ooh, look at that. I was able to get most of the plaster out of it by just kind of chiseling away at it with the screwdriver, and then taking the blunt end and just sort of smacking it. Kind of helped break most of it up, and just sort of fell out. There's still a little bit kind of down in the feet area. I might still try to get that out, because I wanted to maybe try and weigh the feet down with something a little bit better than just the plaster, but we'll see if I can get it out or not. My next step is going to be I'm going to try and soak all the pieces in some warm water, just completely submerge it, and then hopefully that'll loosen up the paint and I can start scrubbing it off. I might have to get some sort of a paint stripper, but I'm hoping I can just do it with warm water. I mean, it's already partially, you can look around, it's starting to chip off certain spots, so hopefully that'll work. Alright, so I gave him a bath in some soapy warm water, just a little plastic tub. I put him in there, let him soak for a while, then got a brush to scrape as much off as I could. Was able to get a lot of it with my fingers as it just kind of got softer. You can see I didn't get all the paint off, but I got enough. For some reason the paint for his legs, it's something different about it, I don't know. But the hair, that wasn't coming off, but this is fine because it's not all thick and caked on like the other stuff was. So yeah, that was just terrible. It looked like a child did it, I don't know. Yeah, so you can see it's mostly just brown vinyl. This is a good way to tell if it's a bootleg or not. Is it cast, for the Leatherface specifically, he was cast in brown vinyl. But enough about that. The next step, I'm going to try to sandpaper off some of this super glue. Get as much of that off as I can. It's mostly kind of ready to go. Yeah. It's ready to, I guess the next step will be to fill this up with plaster. I want to try and shape the legs so that he doesn't like lean forward too much. I always see these things leaning forward and it just looks kind of awkward. So I want to try and get him to stand up straighter. So I'm going to try to heat it up with like a heat gun and bend the legs this way a little bit. And then when I get it, when I get the right, when I get in the right shape, then I'll fill it with the new plaster. So like I mentioned before, this kit is missing the chainsaw. That's why I got such a good deal on it. But I do need to come up with some sort of a chainsaw. We just can't have his arms raised in the air for no reason. So I'm drawing some sketches of chainsaws, just trying to kind of get the idea of how is a chainsaw supposed to look, how are they put together. Over here, got this prop chainsaw. It's like one of those, like you get a Spirit Halloween. But I'm using this as sort of like a model right now. I'm kind of just looking at, all the structure of a chainsaw and trying to sketch it out. And I'm also I've also got some pictures that I got online. This is a completed version of this model kit, so that's what it's supposed to look like. And I'm looking at, what does the original chainsaw look like? How's that put together? And then this is just like a vintage chainsaw that I'm looking at. So, just trying to kind of get an idea on what does a chainsaw look like? How's it put together? Because my current plan is I think I'm going to just get like some clay, like that kind of they use for like claymation type stuff. So I'm going to use some of that to sculpt the body of the chainsaw, and I guess we'll see what I'm going to do for the blade. But I'm definitely going to sculpt the body of the chainsaw out of that clay, and then I'm going to smear it with latex to turn it into a mold that I can peel off and then fill it with resin. It's very involved, but I think it'll be worth it, and I don't know, it's neat. Now I'm using the heat gun to just try and bend the legs back a bit to kind of fix the top-heavy situation so he doesn't lean forward. So I'm going to try to keep his legs kind
kind of bent back at the knee. I've messed around with it a little bit already. He does stand upright if you bend the legs back, but the idea is to get it to retain that shape. So I bent up a coat hanger and stuck it in there. So I'm going to heat it up again, and then I'm going to bend the legs back, and hopefully the wire will help it retain that shape long enough for me to mix up the plaster. And then I'm going to pour that in there. Just filled it part way with the plaster. You might be able to see it's kind of up to the leg lining. I'm going to try and let that dry and then fill the rest of it up to the top. Alright, I just set him down on a variety of surfaces that he was previously, toppling over on. And now he seems to be standing up perfectly fine. No matter where I put him, he's standing up. So I think I got the legs straightened out, plasters keeping him weighed down. I'm still not sure what's going to happen when I get the custom chainsaw made, because I don't know how much that'll weigh. I'm going to try and keep it as lightweight as possible, though, so that, because, if it weighs too much, you could, once again, well, I don't know, maybe not. You might need a lot of weight to make them fall over. We might be good. We'll see, though. We'll see what happens. Worst case scenario, I might have to make a wooden plaque and fix him down on that. But I hope I don't have to do that, though. I hope I can just get him to stand naturally. So here he is with the base coat on. You're just a pretty even coat of black. I'm gonna try and let the plaster in there dry a little bit longer. It still feels kind of a little damp. I'm gonna at least let that set for a day, and then when that's ready, I'm gonna start the more detailed painting on all this. So yeah. It's a total mess in here right now, but that's okay. It's not a lazy trash mess. It's a busy mess. But I'll show you the progress here. We've got the painting started. I decided to just go ahead and paint the apron. I think I can blend it in when I fill the seam up, and I gotta fill the seam on the arm as well. But there you go. Got his arm back on. I'll show the detail when it's all done. At the end of the video, but. That's the progress on that. Then here's the lower half. The top half is pretty much done. This one I gotta do a few more layers on the apron and get some details on the back, but it's coming along. I think after I'm done getting these parts painted, I'll get the upper and lower torso put together, and then the next step is the seam filling. Currently working on sculpting the replacement chainsaw now, so that's why I got bits of clay all over the place. I wouldn't really consider myself much of a sculptor, but I think what I got going on here is looking pretty okay. Yeah, I know. It won't be perfect, but I think it'll be good enough. And I have the metal handle stuck in the clay just to make sure it kind of will fit in, and then I'm gonna get another piece of wire to make the back handle. Yeah, so I think that is as good as it's gonna get with my skill level in sculpting. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna smear layers of latex over that to create a latex mold, and then when I have the mold, I can pour resin into it and make a resin piece. Alright, I just peeled the sculpture out of the mold. So you basically just when you do this, that's the mold builder, just liquid latex, kind of a thick latex. You smear about 10 layers onto whatever you're trying to make. Give it time to dry, then you can peel it off. So there's the mold. Still kind of got my fingers crossed that this will look right when it's done. It's been a while since I've used resin for anything, but I think I did this right. So I filled the mold up with the resin mixture, and according to the internet, it has to set for about 24 hours. So I guess I'll put this somewhere safe and then pop it out tomorrow. How exciting. I guess it'll be fine right there. Hi, bud. I'm not really sure how this is going to work. I'm trying to figure out how to make the blade for the chainsaw, so I cut this shape out of cardboard and smushed it into this clay. I had a little extra resin left over from the mixture, so I'm just going to pour that in here. I'm going to let that dry, and if I'm lucky, when this is dry, it'll be something I can sort of, you know, sandpaper down at least and just sort of get it in the right shape. If that doesn't work, I might literally just, like, you know, try to use this piece of cardboard and stick that on the thing. I'll paint it so it won't look like cardboard, but I mean, that looks like it came out better than I could have expected. You know, it's still got a lot of work to do here, but you know, it's just a piece of cardboard cut in the shape of the chainsaw blade. And I put resin over it, and I think that'll look pretty okay when it's painted. Like, it's not going to be professional, but it'll look like what it's supposed to. I gotta sand some of the excess off of here a little bit. And this is what just kills me. I mean, you know, I am not a sculptor, but this came out pretty decent. You can't really... Yeah, you can see the detail when I hold it up to the light. I mean, when that's painted, I mean, it'll hide some of the blemishes. You know, this is great because, you know, this handle's the only original part, and it just fits perfectly. I didn't have to, like, go out of my way to make it fit into place. It just went right on. So, yeah, everything kind of went exactly how it's supposed to with this. So that's very nice. So I stuck him up on the shelf just to make sure he'll fit, and it's like that chainsaw is just barely touching the ceiling. So I think it'll be good. He'll fit in the spot I got for him right next to the Freddy there. So that's good at least. I'm probably gonna have to break the arm back off and reset it, so that way, because it doesn't quite line up with where the back handle is gonna be. But I don't know. You know, I'll show the detail better, but yeah, the custom chainsaw, you know, not perfect, but a lot better than I was expecting it to be. Okay, I got the handle and everything in place. It's a little wonky, but you know, even I've seen pictures of this kit completed, and it almost always looks wonky, even with the proper parts. So I don't know. It's like just. It was the first attempt at any kind of Leatherface figure, so I guess it was a learning curve, but basically, yeah, at first glance, you probably wouldn't even know that this is not the original chainsaw. So, you know, it's close enough, especially from over here, and the blade just barely scraping the ceiling. Didn't break off when I pushed him up there. It's not a lot of pressure on it, so just barely fits. I finally got the putty, so now I'm working on getting that in the seams right there, on the arm and the waist. This is what I'm using, by the way, just this Testors, just contour putty, that's what it says. I think this is mainly meant for like plastic models, like I think it's like the styrene plastic, like, yeah, this one that I just got because I definitely needed this. Yeah, I think it's meant for those, but I've noticed it works for vinyl kits as well. I would assume it pretty much just works for anything. As long as it sticks to the surface and it hardens and you can shape it. See, I'm just gonna add a little more putty and just kind of keep using this X-Acto knife to shape it, probably get some sandpaper on it. And then when that's all done, I can paint over it. The paint is now applied. You can see it kind of helps blend those pieces together a little bit. I think it came out really good along the arm. It's going to be noticeable along this waist. That is a rough seam to fill right there. I've seen other people do it where you can't even tell, but I don't know, I think it's good enough. So the next and final step is going to be to get the blood splatter all over them. So I'm going to mix some paint to get the right kind of like blood color that I want, then get it really watered down and just flick it all over them, make a real big mess. Got a very elaborate setup here now. Got the colors I need to make the blood, different brushes, clean cup of water. It's going to be important that the blood is watered down, so I don't want, you know, like any other colors getting mixed in with the water. The water is important. Then I got more paper laid out all over here, some clamps and a brick holding it down so it doesn't blow away. I got a box. I'm going to put the Leatherface in front of the box. So I got all this set up just so I can... oh, that's dripping. I'm going to try and do this with one hand. You know, just get this loaded with the fake blood, and then, you know, I'm going to splatter them like that. So, let's get to it. Alright, I ended up mixing some brown into the mixture as well. I just kind of felt like it needed that in there. My plan is to start with a very, very dark colored blood. So I got that on here now. Hopefully that looks alright. Start with a very dark color, and then we're gonna like start putting lighter ones on top of that. Alright, it's not terrible. We'll do a little bit of this, and then we're gonna have to... Okay, I think that's enough of that. Now I definitely need to get more red in it. I don't want too much of that. That almost doesn't look red at all. Okay, this is a much lighter shade now. See how this looks? Okay, that's a little better like that. We'll get a lot of that. And then I come around so I can splatter it in this direction. Yeah, that's good for like the kind of like the base of it, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, get a lot of it on there. Try and get some of it on the chainsaw as well. I'm gonna have to take a different approach with the chainsaw. Get it watered down and yeah. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna get more. You just do it there, I guess. Another lighter shade of red. Like I start very dark and black, and then work your way up to like brighter red. Then see how that looks. Yeah, that's working pretty good, I think. Yeah, I haven't been showing a lot of the full process. I've just kind of been cutting to like, you know, whenever I get the next step done. But I wanted to show you guys this because, I mean, that's kind of cool, right?
In a ditch near the perimeter of the cemetery. Subsequent investigation has revealed at least a dozen empty crypts, and it's feared more will turn up as the probe continues. Deputies report that in some instances, only parts of a corpse had been removed. The head, or in some cases the extremities removed, the remainder of the corpse left intact. Evidence indicates the robberies have occurred over a period of time. Sheriff Jesus Maldonado refused to give details in the ghoulish case and said only that he did have strong evidence linking the crime to elements outside the state. Area residents have reportedly converged on the cemetery, fearing the remains of relatives have been removed. No suspects are in custody as the investigation at the scene continues. Health officials in San Francisco reluctantly admit they
Alright, so there he is on the shelf now with the other guys. I now have 4 of these Screamin model kits in total. If you want to see the before and afters of the Pinhead and the female Centibite, because I also had to completely redo them, follow me on Twitter, I guess, or Instagram. I'm going to post pictures on there. I'm not going to do a full-blown video. It's a little too late for that, but there's the Leatherface. All done. Really good to have this one now, because this is definitely among the more kind of modern horror characters. He's my favorite. Really happy with how that blood splatter came out. That just looks wonderful. It just feels really grimy. Like even the hands just, it looks wet even though it's dry and I didn't put any gloss on it. It just has like that kind of like if you smothered like fake blood on your hands, it has a, or I guess real blood, fake blood that you get from the Halloween store. It's meant to look real, but you know, it just has that look to it. So yeah, just kind of showing off the detail as much as I can. Back up, get a whole shot of the family there. All looking pretty good. I got pretty lucky with the ones I have here for pretty decent prices. If you're going to collect the Screamin kits, get ready to spend some money because they're not cheap. Unless you do what I do, which is find crappy ones and then restore them. Which is honestly more fun